Welcome back, everyone, to Tarot and the Moons. My name is Ingrid. Let's get started. By the way, there's a special in bulk reading over at my Substack community. I'll leave a little link on the description of this video so you can go and check out the in bulk tarot and oracle reading, because on February 1st is also the in bulk festivities. I talk a little bit more about that on Substack, and I hope you're enjoying that and that you become a member of Substack. Now, on to the full moon on February 1st, 2026. Now, in Vedic astrology, we know that this particular full moon, is in the astrological sign of Cancer, but in tropical astrology, they tell us that this full moon is in Leo. So, as you know, when it comes to the moon, it represents for me your emotions and our emotions collectively. And so when the moon is activated in these points of the full moon, the quarter moons, the new moons, etc., our emotions are at play. And for me, our emotions, collectively or individually, are actually swinging between these two archetypes of the Cancer full moon and the Leo full moon. Now, the word that actually came up for me when I was meditating on this full moon was pride. And I really sat with that because I was like, what is it that we need to learn of pride? And immediately what came up to me was something related to time. Now, in my meditation, this was really a little bit trippy, but in my meditation, what I saw was that the spiritual community has been duped, because there's all this talk that you hear everyone talking about the ascension, and we're ascending and we're moving from 3D to 4D to 5D to 6D, and we're going up and up and up and up and up, and we're going to meet our galactic family, and we're going to enter, it's going to be two worlds. I've heard that too. There are two Earths coming and blah, 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 blah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's called pride. Because there's an assumption here that they know this to be true. Now, this connection with time, in my meditation, I always ask, what do you mean by that? And I was asked, well, do you think time is speeding up, or do you think time is slowing down? And I said, I feel time is speeding up. And I don't think there's anyone that I know that would say the contrary. We are all in agreement that time seems to have sped up. Some of us say that it's the fault of social media. Some of us say that it's the fault of us having shorter attention span, etc. Now, when I delve deeper into this concept of time slowing down or speeding up, in the Taoist principles, in ancient text, in it just in the ancient world of meditation or spirituality or Zen even, all of these sort of spiritual engagements with tradition, right? Spiritual engagements with tradition have said the same thing, that when we meditate, when we go into prayer, when we intentionally go into the space of stillness, what happens to time? It slows down. The slowing down of time is the indicia, right? The indication of an ascension process, of an illuminated process, of a Kundalini rising process, right? So now I throw this back to you. If time is speeding up, are we ascending? No, we're not. We're descending. We've been descending for a while. And I know that the Vedic astrologers say we're at the tail end of the Kali Yuga and blah, 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 and not blah, blah, blah. I believe that we are at the tail end of the Kali Yuga. But my point is, in Kali Yuga, of course, signifying this period of time in our human history where we are at our darkest. Having said that, we're not in the space of ascension. We're not in the space of illumination. To say so and then to witness the depravity of humanity is pride. I'm going to repeat that in a different way. When we collectively engage and say that we are all ascending, and at the same time we see that children are dying at war, it's 2025, 2023, 2024, 25, 26, right? 2020s. And children are dying of war. We're seeing this mass uncovering of human trafficking, child abuse, etc., etc., etc. Does that look like an ascension process to you? Does that feel like an ascension process to you? It's one thing to do these spiritual engagements, these sacred engagements, and really try to uplift people and try to assist people. It's another to tell them we're all on the ascension path. I don't know what path you're on, and I don't know what path I'm in. But I can tell you that collectively, we've all been seeing time speeding up. And the speeding up of time is a lower frequency engagement. By lower, I mean that it's part of the positive, negative, dark, light. It's part of a duality. For all of us collectively, and I really do feel this, to remember to be on the good-natured path, right? The path of ascension. Because that, even though we're not there yet, guys, it is our desire to be there, right? So in that sense, we are speaking about it because it is our desire to be there, but we're not there yet. And it's really important for us to check our pride. And one of the ways to check our pride collectively, right? We're talking about humanity, is that we're going to have to face the stuff we don't want to face. Now, that is my spiel on what I got on pride. That we all have to be very humble to the human experience and go back and I feel like read the ancient texts and see what it is that they said about the thing that you are claiming to want to teach others, right? Or that I'm claiming to want to teach others or whatever, right? I need to check myself because when that word pride and time and the inquiry was made, do you feel that it's speeding up or slowing down? It was like a light bulb moment. It was like, wow, yeah, we're not slowing down, we're speeding up, which means that the challenging energies of this planet are dominating right now. And it is up to us to remove our pride, to look at what we have to look at, and to do the clearing in order to step forward with power so that we can change what we're seeing on the exterior and we can change the mechanism of the interior. Now, in esoteric astrology, a moon in Cancer is sort of like a gateway, right? It's a sign, it's a doorway through which the soul descends into incarnation. Now, this is a theory or a belief system or information rather that Blavatsky and later Alice Bailey associated with Cancer, which is this engagement of mass consciousness, memory, and the womb of formation. And the moon in Cancer is sort of like the keeper of ancient habit or ancient memory or ancestral patterns. This is why I think that word pride came up in conjunction with time and that theory of ascension or descension. Now, esoterically, the moon sort of like pulls us into the past. And it has this tide of emotional inheritance of humanity's instinctual relationship to the material world. And Cancer is ruled, well, the moon is actually Cancer's rulership, but in esoteric astrology, they say that it's Neptune because beneath the emotion is a vast ocean of collective feelings and spiritual longing. We cannot engage the spiritual realms when we are filled with pride. Pride, in this case, the way that it came through was in thinking that we know what is going on when we do not. The only thing we know is this present moment, right? So a Cancer moon activates this unconscious realm, the psychic sensitivities that our soul is trying to remember. And that is the remembrance of its origins. And that is that we are sacred spiritual beings in a very dense, heavy environment. And for me, when I think about this moon in Cancer, the way the Vedic astrologers are saying this full moon is, it's magnetically purifying our feelings, and we're learning to regulate those emotions through non-attachment, including non-attachment to current spiritual dogmas or current sacred dogmas that have no foundation in either ancient literature that we know has grounded humanity. Okay? Now, in contrast, when we're looking at um, the Leo perspective, right, where tropical astrologers are saying this moon is in, this represents the point in which our consciousness is illuminated or it awakens itself. Now, in esoteric astrology, Leo is the sign of the individualized soul, the moment in which we say, I am. And Alice Bailey describes Leo as a sign where the self, the I am, becomes aware of its own divine spark. And it begins to long for the desire to use power for good. And a moon in Leo, this particular full moon in Leo, is bringing an emotional focus to our identity with dignity and creative self-expression, right? And Leo often is associated with that word pride. I think that's why it came through in the meditation. And this kind of energy is going to test whether we are here in service of ourselves or in service of others. And Leo is ruled by the sun, but it's thinly veiled with this Neptunian radiance according to esoteric astrology, because it forms a spiritual illumination that's shining through our personalities. And it also highlights our heart chakra, right? Leo is often associated also with courage. So we have to have the courage to set aside our pride, and the ego here is in the mix, right? Because Leo is often also associated with the egoic center, right? So with this combination, we are being asked to align our emotional life with some sort of purpose. And that purpose has to be anchored in love. This is where that heart chakra area of the Leo energy is coming through. It has to be anchored with love. And this embodiment of pride as self-recognition and creative authority is seen in Leo. Now, when we're speaking of Cancer, right, the moon in Cancer, it's pride, right? If we're talking about pride, the pride of the Cancer energy can be protectiveness, can be emotional loyalty is a theme, right? Because it's a maternal energy, belonging, overbearingness can be prideful aspects of the Cancer full moon. And it's also sort of, it can have a very defensive energy, a clinginess to it. That's like the egoic part of the Cancer. By contrast, the Leo embodies pride as the authority of it all, right? And it's magnifies itself. It's like only I matter. It almost feels like a little bit more mm, um, ego in an unhealthy way when we're talking about pride in the Leo energy. Now, both of these aspects of the Leo and the Cancer is going to have our emotions swinging between these kinds of themes, right? So it's really important for us to stay grounded and not get caught up in the pridefulness of either of these two signs. Now, on a collective stage, let's see what happens, right? Because Cancer and Leo often for me signifies, I don't know why, but it's almost like an emperor type energy. So we'll see how far the egoic energies go with our world leaders. Keeping in mind, of course, that there's a learning here to be had with our emotional transmutation that is going on with the aspects of Cancer and Leo. And what we want to do is be spiritually responsible, meaning you want to ascend, then slow down time. How do you slow down time? Prayer, meditation, yoga, all of these beautiful tools that we have at our disposal is the way that we slow down time by going inward, right? Going inward. For Leo, Leo goes inward through creativity. For Cancer, Cancer goes inward through connection with its emotions, right? So use the creative engagement to go inward and balance out the prideful energies that are wanting to come up emotionally during this time period. All right, let's move on to the next slide where we're going to speak a little bit about the tarot players for this full moon in Cancer, according to Vedic astrologers, and Leo, according to tropical Western astrology. All right. So once again, we have a full moon according to sidereal astrologers. This is in Cancer. And according to tropical astrologers, this full moon is in Leo. And remember that whenever we're dealing with full moon, we are, can you guys see that? Yes. It's a perfect time to sort of wrap things up and complete something, release something, or allow something to be illuminated, okay? So the Cancer astrology is ruled by the moon. This is the full moon, a representation of the moon. And the tarot players are the High Priestess and the Chariot. Now, whenever we're dealing with the High Priestess energy, we are dealing with intuition. We're dealing with mystery. We're dealing with the subconscious, all right, on this level. And on its more challenging, it could be secretive, it can be some sort of disconnection from source energy, right? From the love frequency, from the intuitive frequency. And it can also be a representation of the symbol of confusion. Now, when we're dealing with the Chariot, this is all about your willpower, victory, assertion, moving forward, being aggressive. Sometimes on a challenging side, it's a lack of direction. It's a lack of feeling victory. It's also this energy of defeat in its more challenging aspects, okay? So again, if I pull the cards for you, and I'm pulling from either the High Priestess or the Chariot energy, that signifies that your emotional stream will likely be in this field of Cancer and the archetypes that I just discussed. Now, when we speak of the Leo energy, Leo is, of course, ruled by the sun, and there are two tarot archetypes that rule Leo, or that Leo rules, and that is the Strength card and, of course, the Sun. And when we're dealing with the Strength card, we are speaking about courage. So maybe we're going to see some courageous leadership finally on the global stage. But it does speak about courage. It does speak about um, positive influences when we're seeing this energy. And it does speak of having compassion, and that's because the Leo is being compassionately embraced. For me, I identified this as tamed. By the way, I'm pulling from the Arcangel Tarot deck, and for me, tamed is equivalent to that energy of compassion, to have compassion for the rage or the anger, etc. And over here, we have the sun archetype. Now, when we're speaking about the sun, it is joyfulness, it's success, it's vitality, it's in its more challenging side, it's lack of clarity, right? Because the sun is not shining its light. But for me, it also means it's also significant that it's about relationship, and it's relationship with the beloved. The beloved, of course, being the sun energy, which is the energy of the higher beings, or the beloved intimate relationship that you may have, or the beloved, that thing that you love, right? Those people that you love are our beloveds. In this case, I feel like taming humanity for some reason, or having compassion with the human experience, even with the beloved. All right, so that's it. I am going to be focusing on the moon energies, which for me signifies emotions, but I've been told you can look at your ascendant sign and you can look at your sun sign, and those are going to indicate to you a story, right? The sun for me indicating action, your goals, where you're headed during this full moon period to the new moon next time we meet. The ascendant is how you get there, and then the moon is the emotional streams, or what's affecting the emotional waters within you. All right? All right, let's go on to the next slide where we're actually going to do our readings. So for this reading, we're going to begin with Leo and then work our way around the wheel until we get to Cancer. I am using the Star Lore Arcana. I don't want to mess up this for identification of the signs. And I'm also using the Visconti Tarot because it kind of reminded me of this word pride, kind of reminded me of aristocracy and or royalty, and there's something about this, the fact that this card deck was created for the Visconti family, that gave me this positive sort of energy about pride, right? Because in many circumstances, pride is not necessarily a bad thing. You can have pride in your family, you can have pride in your accomplishments, right? So it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just the way that it came out in my vision was for the collective, was that it's asking us, is it true what we are experiencing, or are we just following some sort of modern day dogma on what we believe, right? So anyway, so that's why I'm using the Visconti card, because it reminded me of, being prideful of the family, being prideful of the human race and our accomplishments and everything that we have done. And then I'm using the Faces of Oshun Oracle, and that's because I kind of felt like, if we're dealing with pride in that challenging way in which it came through the vision, or we're dealing with pride within ourselves and others, we want to do some clearing work, right? So the Faces of Oshun, it's a pretty direct oracle, and it's going to tell us exactly what we need to clear, exactly what we need to work on in terms of our pride, etc. All right? So what did I do with, oh, here it is. All right. So we're going to start with Leo, and I've already pre-shuffled the cards so I could just start pulling them instead of, waiting around while you see me shuffling. All right, just put my glasses on again. All right. So for those with Leo, you've got the Seven of Cups. So immediately here, I'm feeling levels of mystery. So I'm gonna just put the high priestess here, because part of the high priestess is that she's a spiritual archetype, right? She's a sacred spiritual archetype. And when we're dealing with the Seven of Cups, we're dealing with this uncertainty about our emotions. We're not even sure anymore what we are feeling, what we are engaging with. What is it that we're supposed to realign, or what is it that we're supposed to sort of regulate, right? So tap into this realm of the high priestess and know that the more, quote unquote, you're uncertain, you can write those words out. I'm not sure what I feel, right? And then have faith that whatever turbulence is existing within you, you will overcome it. Let's see what the oracle says for you. Oshun of Warrior. And it says on the bottom, personal power, assertiveness, and leadership. So what we're not sure of here, according to this, is that we're not sure how we feel about our personal power. We're not sure how we feel about our leadership, and we're not sure how we feel about being assertive, right? And so because of this uncertainty, right, we don't want to react with this kind of energy and this kind of emotion. We want to tap in. This is the energy of the high priestess. We want to tap in and really be grounded in what, let me put these aside, I don't want you to confuse it, and really be grounded in what we are feeling, right? In what we are feeling. That was for the Leo energies. Let me put this here. I don't want to confuse these. And then put this here and put this back. So that's going to be it's going to be an emotional moon for you, Leos. And next we have, put that here, Virgo. What do we have here for you, Virgo? We've got the Five of Pentacles. So Virgo, you're thinking about money, you're thinking about career, you're thinking about how do I make it come? How do I make it manifest? How do I go get the money? How do I go get the health? How do I go get the material gains, right? And all I can tell you is that it's going to come from unexpected sources. All right. So what we have to be careful about is thinking that we know exactly the direction in which we're going. This is this energy of the Chariot, and be more in the space of the uncertainty that things will manifest the way they're supposed to. So that's what you have to be careful about, assuming you know. And then your oracle for the Virgo is Oshun of Resurrection, rebirth, transformation, renewal. So when we're speaking of this idea of the physical, right, the physical body, I just want to make sure I can get all these images on it. Maybe I'm going to have to do this one by one so I can put them down. And you've got this double five energy too. So really be comfortable with the chaos and let things go, and don't be in the space of controlling every little thing. You want to let go of the reins a little bit so that the horses that are the spiritual beings here can merge and redirect you into the space that you're supposed to be at, right? Because this resurrection is going to happen in an organic way. Okay, that's two Cancers so far. All right, let's see. I'm gonna move these on here so I can move the cards a little bit more. The next one we have is Libra. Let's see what you got, Libra. And you've got the Two of Cups. So Libra, this is all about relationships for you. This is about what is being created in relationship. Where's your ego playing out in relationship? And of course, we spoke about the sun being that aspect of the beloved, right? How are you with yourself in relationship to yourself? How are you in relationship to another? But this is about an intimate relationship. So I wouldn't be surprised if you did meet someone, and the word amor is like so prominent in this Visconti card. Let's see what the guidance is. Let's move these up. See what the guidance is. And then you have here Oshun of the ancestor, sacred lineage, belonging, and family. So maybe even the intimacy here is with the family relationship. How are you with, again, with yourself? How are you engaged? How are you nurturing the relationship you have with yourself and others, right? This is what we have to be careful about. Have you been prideful in these kinds of relationships, right? With yourself or with others? Something to consider. Now we have Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising energies. Let's see what you have here. And for Scorpio, you have the Six of Cups. This is, again, nurturing yourself, nurturing your emotional energies here. Being in the space, and I'm gravitating here towards this tamed energy. Being in the space where you are paying attention to your emotional waters. Oops, I just messed up this whole, there you go, camera. And then you've got the Oshun's voice of chakra, authenticity, individuality, and self-expression. For me, this feels like self-expression. What part of you are you not expressing fully because you're not nurturing yourself, or because you're not, quote unquote, being compassionate with yourself, or taming the wild aspects of who you are, which we all have them. Next, we have Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising signs. And we have here the Four of Cups. Lots of cups energies, and I really shuffled these cards, but lots of cups energy here. So for me, when I see this Four of Cups, you're really sort of thinking about the past, thinking about your emotional security, wondering, gravitating here toward the High Priestess, wondering what's really going on. How can you feel more secure with yourself and others emotionally? This is about wanting to feel emotionally prosperous, Sagittarius. So we have here Oshun of harmonic balance, harmony, inner peace, and synchronicity. So one of your keys already, for those of you with Sagittarius, is that you have to try to tap into that part of you that's harmonious. And also this energy of the High Priestess is going to give you the peace that you're kind of seeking when it comes to this emotional security. Because right now it feels up in the air, right? But the harmony and the inner peace, you're going to be presented with that through synchronistic engagements. So pay attention to the signs. This is very much a High Priestess guidance card, or guidance, period. Next, we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Let's put this one here. And your card is, what is this? Oh my goodness. It was the Moon card. Not a traditional moon card, but this is Capricorn. This is a moon card, right? So we already know the planets, the moon, dominate the Cancerian energy. So we're going to pull here. I Because you're Capricorn, I am going to gravitate towards the Chariot energy, right? So for me, it's like dive deeper into your emotional well. Dive deeper, make those wishes, clear those paths, utilize the magic of the moon frequency to get what you want, not only emotionally, but also in the material realm. But first, you have to tap in emotionally to what's going on and really nurture yourself. Illuminate the darkness, actually. And there's like this energy of this rope that sort of like symbolizes, um, don't forget that you have a safety rope or a safety net around you. So it's okay to dive deep into the emotional realms. Because I know sometimes Capricorns don't want to do that. All right, so your guidance is Oshun's desire, passion, longing, drive. This is connecting to this energy of the chariot. What is it that you're passionate about? What is it you're feeling deeply about? What is it that wants to drive you forth, right? With this beautiful energy of the chariot. And finally, last but not, no, not finally, we still have a couple more. And this one is for Aquarius. And for the Aquarius, you've got this Three of Cups energy. So you're in the space of celebration. So for you, this illumination is about celebration time. Oh, let's see. I would say because this involves others, I would say it's a sun. And I even said the word illumination. There's something here that's going to be illuminated for you, Aquarius, having to do with celebration or relationship with others, or maybe even a reconnection with another. And Oshun manifesting birth. This is manifestation, intention, and abundance. I feel like it's an intention having to do with relationship with others. It's almost like a rebirth of a relationship or relationships plural. Next we have, oops, Pisces, and your card is the Ace of Swords. Sorry, the Ace of Wands. Oh my goodness, the Ace of Wands. So this is about you starting something new, starting something creative, moving forward with intention. I am being drawn to the Chariot. A lot of you guys are going to be moving forward very quickly during this month of February with either an idea or some sort of creative project is moving very, very quickly during this time. And then we've got the Oshunga self-destruction, self-sabotage, destruction pattern, and caution. So remember, we are dealing with these full moon in Cancer and full moon in Leo. So here's the ego getting involved, right? Here's the pride getting involved. Just because something is moving quickly doesn't mean that you have to go into the area of self-sabotage, right? Allow it to move quickly, allow it to proceed, and don't get scared, right? Because sometimes even when we sabotage things, it is because we're prideful or we think we know the trajectory in which it should go. So that was Pisces. But don't go into self-sabotage mode, Pisces. Next we have Aries. And your card here is, okay, this is the Knight of Swords, the Knave of Swords. And for me, this is like you learning something, Aries. So you are in a position where you're learning something, and I am being drawn here to the beloved because she's actually teaching him how to meditate, how to be embodied. So there's a learning lesson here that you are engaging with in this full moon. And you've got Oshun of envy, jealousy, self-doubt, and inadequacy. So when it comes to you moving forward or learning something, don't fall into the space of inadequacy. Don't fall into that prideful energy where you feel like you're not good enough, right? Allowing yourself to open your heart enough to know that there are things that you still need to learn when it comes to relationships. Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising. We've got here this energy of the Four of Swords. So this is you wanting to feel protected. This is you wanting to not necessarily share your ideas with people. This is you holding back for some reason. And I am being drawn here to the mystery of the insightful high priestess. And perhaps you're holding back because you don't yet know within yourself how to share it and or move forward. Oh, sorry. I pulled two. I didn't see the other one, so we'll just keep going with this. Oshun of the seductress, sensuality, attraction, feminine power. So where is this hesitation coming from? It's coming from this area of your own sexuality, of being insecure about your own sensual beingness, right? And this is something that you need to tap into your energy of what does that look like for you? What does that mean for you? How does that express itself in the world? Okay, so that was for the energy of Taurus. And now it's the energy of Gemini. I'm always trying to do these a little bit quicker for you guys because I know that you don't like long videos. And this one is the Queen of Swords. So for Gemini, you're really looking for this. This immediately jumped into my frequency of justice, right? This energy of justice, what you think is just and what you think is not just, right? So we have to really fall into the space of taming your strength and your power because we don't want to go into the area of self-destruction with these two energies of the Cancer and the Leo activating this aspect of the humanity that we call pride. So we want to scale that back. Let's see what guidance you have. Oshun of mercy, be merciful with yourself. Compassion, forgiveness, and empathy. Be merciful with yourself, right? When we charge forward with this legal and what's right and what's wrong, we actually are not compassionate with everyone involved. And we start going into the space of righteousness. This is what we need to contain. Okay, now last but not least, we have Cancer. This is your moon. And you've got here, what do I have? The Three of Pentacles. Woohoo! So this for me, it's another area of celebration, but sometimes the pentacle energy has this space energy of secrecy. Like, what am I secretly planning? What am I secretly cooking up with other people, right? Because this is this engagement with other people, but it's being done in a secret way. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna need guidance here and see what this is all about. Oshun of miracles. Ooh. So for you, you really are tapping into this miraculous field and maybe even for the world, right? This is divine synchronicity, unexpected blessings and hope. My goodness, what a beautiful way to end this reading. We definitely need you, Cancer babies. We need this energy of hope and miracles, not only for ourselves, but for humanity. Woof. I'm going to leave it there. I really loved that reading. And yeah, stay safe, everyone. And I'll catch you on the new moon coming up in a couple weeks. Bye.